Yeah, well, I think the big takeaway for me from this study is that Americans are increasingly frustrated and concerned about the financial services industry. We have less than half of Americans, 49%, who believe that the financial system meets their needs. That's pretty low in my mind, but shockingly, less than 1 in 10 Americans completely trust the bank. So these are pretty low numbers for the banks, and I think one of the things that crypto and DeFi in particular have to offer is an alternative or even potentially an improvement to the current system because they're able to hold their own assets, then they can trade, borrow, and lend using those assets. And so I was really excited to see the opportunity that we have for the crypto industry to either completely replace or perhaps converge with traditional finance to make this a more trustworthy system for everyone.
Well, I'm curious, Christian, when people say they're not happy with their banks, what are they not happy about, right? And does crypto solve for those things that they're not happy about?
Yeah, well, a lot of what we see are fees that are misunderstood, perhaps are disclosed, but there's so many disclosures that they don't know what they're getting into. And if you look at DeFi, the cost is a lot lower. And then they also feel frustrated about access to certain products. And so, with DeFi, it's different. And again, this isn't a world that's for everyone, but I think what's really exciting is that whether it be through stable coins for payments or on the market side, upgrading the infrastructure that we use for trading markets. There's a real opportunity here. And what we do at Solana Policy Institute is we focus on a lot of the policy work going on in Washington. And as Congress is passing laws and putting new regulations in place, it really provides a foundation for this technology to be integrated within these systems so that we can lower costs and provide consumers more access to better services.
Well, and I guess on that point as well, I mean, certainly some of the large financial institutions are looking at DeFi and looking at blockchain as well and integrating that in some cases into their businesses. So what do you think the landscape going forward is going to look like in terms of the services being offered and who's offering them?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation across the board. I think one really interesting idea, and this is something that actually the chairman of the SEC, Chairman Atkins, has focused on, is this sort of concept of a super app where you can have your crypto portfolio, your securities portfolio, your stable coins, your mortgage. You can have all of your financial assets in one place. And so if you need a short-term loan and you don't want to, you have some Apple stock, you can leverage that Apple stock to get that loan in DeFi without having to, sell that underlying asset. And so there's a lot that you can do with collateral in DeFi across different types of assets that is not available to consumers today. And so we think, these are the types of innovations that we're going to see. But, I think the key is it's a very American principle to want to own your own property. And, when you're dealing with the banks today, you're really handing over your assets, and then it enters the fractional reserve banking system. This provides an alternative for that percentage of the population that does want to have more control and to be able to interact directly with counterparties, whether it be in payments or trading or borrowing.
I mean, I think the trade-off for that traditionally has been safety and security, right? And being at an FDIC insured institution, for example. So what is sort of DeFi's answer to that?
Yeah, well, I think the DeFi's answer is you have 100% of all of your assets, right? I think the reason we need FDIC insurance is because if something goes wrong, there aren't enough assets to return to those customers. And so, this is a way where a customer can choose to keep control of their entire set of assets. But, I do think that, as we look across the spectrum, and I actually thought Tyrone prior to this was very interesting in that holding crypto is not for everyone. It's for some people. It's not for everyone. I think what's also interesting is as people are looking at crypto as an investment opportunity, we are seeing the emergence of these digital asset treasury companies and ETFs that we are expecting to hit in the next week or two. So we're now seeing more opportunities for not just having an individual have an alternative to their investment system, but now we're seeing crypto enter the traditional regulated system as well. So we're seeing a lot of mixing and converging in these two spaces. And I think as we get more and more regulatory clarity in the months ahead, that we're going to continue to see the kind of cross-pollination between these two worlds.
One of the other study results that stood out to me is a lot of people don't know what decentralized finance even is, right? There's it looks like extreme familiarity with crypto. Not bad. It's at 16% if you look at how many are familiar with the asset and how many are likely to use it in the future. For decentralized finance, it looks like only about 3% of your survey respondents are extremely familiar with it. So like,
yeah,
you got a long way to go.
Yes, there's a long way to go, but I think, the key for this adoption of this technology is not for people to be able to understand how DeFi works. It's for them to be able to go to a familiar place that's easy to use and get services they do understand, like the ability to borrow, the ability to lend, the ability to trade. These are all things that are familiar to people. And if you could simultaneously within maybe your brokerage account also be able to interact with DeFi without even knowing you're using it, I think that's how we'll really have succeeded. I mean, I think about the internet. Most consumers don't understand how the back end of the internet works. They just know they can go and see the content they like or post a picture or communicate with a friend. I think when we start seeing people just actually using the services, the technology is going to lie underneath and behind it. And I think that that's how we're really going to get the mainstream adoption of crypto and DeFi technology.